Welcome back. It's time for part 2 of today's campaign update, State of the Union, State of the World. So, I don't know if you've been following me lately, but I've been posting some pretty horrific stories about how people treated people in the past. So, and I want to say it's mostly men, and men on men, and men on women, and men on children. And, I'm bringing this up because of the things circling around the Epstein files and all of that. So, the things, whatever men in power have been doing, it's not new. And it's not the worst, oftentimes, because I've been posting videos from YouTube about some really disgusting habits of our ancestors. And, we are in a growing pains period of time where we know more and more each year, each decade, what is right and wrong. But then we still have people choosing wrong over right. And this is where the problem arises. And I don't like to point fingers, but it does seem, I guess maybe it's men act more on their impulses than women. And so it might be that it might be more equal than I think, but I don't know. I still think it's pretty heavy on the men's side as far as being abusive goes. But it's up to every society to figure out what is abuse and what is not abuse. And so I posted something just yesterday about the Ottoman Empire and their sexual activities they were doing and things they were doing to innocents, to families, to children, to adults, to all sorts of things. And then I came upon another video about Caligula, and that was the Roman Empire. And things that he was doing, and then beyond him, what others were doing to all sorts of people, and the sexual abuse. And the person in the videos, I have to say, they're looking back at these things through modern eyes. So you have to realize that back in those days, people might have had other ideas about what was acceptable and what wasn't. The one thing that hit home was the Ottoman Empire was still going on into last century. And that's when I realized, this is something we need to address, because there are people who may have been raised by people who were from the Ottoman time. And again, through these ancient stories, we have a lot of wonderful architecture and science and all of this, but at what cost did it come? And justifying brutality, I have difficulties with that. So I think, when we also look back at our own history here in the U.S. about our slavery time and how we treated the Native Americans and indigenous people, also in Hawaii and Alaska. I mean, Like when Hawaii and Alaska became states, they were pretty close to the Ottoman Empire time. So, what is it's hard to separate all the different brutalities out there. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And pinpoint this one is acceptable, but that one's not. I think people don't realize how close these brutalities were to modern times. And we are the transitioning generations away from what was and towards a new way, a more equal way, a more equitable way, a more humane way. So one thing maybe we want to do is, instead of spending time in school focusing on learning history so much, since we also come from different histories, all of us, maybe it's time to focus on current life, like learning about our Constitution, learning about our recent histories and issues that are out there that people are talking about. Maybe it's time for that. Rather than looking back at the past. I mean, if you're a U.S. citizen living in a United State, then you should learn also about U.S. history. That's true. But we need to realize this is a transitional period, and maybe all of life is transitional, I don't know, but we're definitely in this period right now. We are a world coming together and trying to move forward socially and scientifically, but we have a lot of different cultures out there, and a lot of different societies that are bringing their own wisdom, and sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't. What's important is that you notice which cultures rise to the top in any given situation. But the question is, how do they do that? Is it by stepping on others, or is it by turning around and giving a helping hand? So we want to reward the people turning around and giving the helping hand rather than the ones who are just climbing and stepping all over people, right? I mean, that would be my choice. But anyway, so one thought I had was, what we don't have is really like an Ancestor Day. We need an Ancestor Day, and then we focus on that day about learning from their mistakes, learning that it's not acceptable to do whatever they were doing before, and to recognize it. So, and I guess today is a day where I think we dropped the bomb on Japan, and that would be the nuclear bomb. So it ended World War. I mean, not this one. The next one will finalize end of World War II. But it is and it was a big deal. Killed a lot of people, did a lot of damage. So, yes, sometimes we have extremists and things need to be done. But we also have to, and we need to remember that even our own people have done extreme things. But sometimes they're necessary. But this would be, Ancestor Day would be a day to realize that sometimes You have to do difficult things to achieve a final goal that is the best choice for humanity or the USA, depending on what it is. And so it's a day to learn from mistakes of the past. And when I read some of the histories about, or listen to movies about, or shows about the past history of humans, I'm often appalled at how we've treated each other. Especially, I'm a woman, so women have been abused for forever. And so, even today we're still quite abused, and it's unacceptable, actually. But we make a lot of movies romanticizing these things and making them seem like, oh, isn't that great? But none of us would survive in those worlds. So I think we need to stop romanticizing the past and look at it for real and know that we are moving forward in a better direction, and then move forward in a better direction. So I recommend that we make an Ancestor Day where we can go and contemplate, a day to contemplate the evil that our nation and our people in general, have done in the past, so that we don't repeat those mistakes. Yeah. We all have a right to be here, and we are all important to our nation and to the world. We're also important to our families and communities, too. So let's not forget the local part. Then, the other part of that is then reparations for slavery, reparations for stealing elections, reparations for stealing land. It's been a difficult journey, but I will say that our country is not unique. Most countries on the planet have been involved in wars, territorial wars, for thousands of years. So I'm going to say that most women have not been involved in the wars. Although I can't say that 100% because I know England had some wars where queens were involved, but it's mostly been men. And so, sometimes we don't have to be inclusive. I'm sorry, we really don't, because women didn't really, and they still don't, have a big say in the wars and the territories and all of that. It's a new phenomenon. And it's time for this to happen. It's a good time for this to happen. So anyway, my reparation concept is not just for people who are of African heritage, or people who are Native American heritage, or or women who have been kept out and down for so long. Because, when African Americans got their freedom, first off, only men were allowed to get the vote, but then that's probably exactly when they started that registering to vote concept, which then they were not letting you vote, but that's a whole nother story. I guess by freeing the slaves, it flooded the job market. And then we still had indentured servants at that time, and it wasn't until the 13th Amendment when the indentured servants were also freed. So we had white European workers that were being forced into slavery, who got freed later. But then the market was just flooded with workers. Some skilled, some unskilled, some had dark skin, some had light skin. And it was a difficult time for everyone. And then, yeah. So I think the best way to do this is with travel. You know, I think there's nothing more rewarding than life experience. And so my reparations is to send everyone back to their roots. And, you know, I grew up, I want to watch that movie again, Roots. I keep saying that, and I haven't discovered it because I don't, or I tried to, I think, but I don't know what service, you know, things are just changing how we watch movies nowadays. But it was a great movie and really affected me when I was growing up. But anyways, yes, roots, you know, even we all have roots. We all come from somewhere. And the US is not the only place that's done this too, you know. I mean, if you listen to some of the stories I just posted on my social media platforms, you will see what the Ottomans, what the Roman Empire, what they were all doing to each other. So as far as being uprooted and loss of family knowledge, you know, I mean, it's just shocking. So, roots. I want to send all of us back to one place that is part of our roots if we know it. So, like, for instance, I supposedly have roots in Poland. So I would like to go to Poland, and I might even get there sooner than later. But it's what I want to do, because that's my roots. I mean, just going and living in Europe for 20 years, even though Switzerland is not, like, I probably do have Swiss roots too, but not that would have sent me there to discover my roots. But being in Europe and going around and seeing the historical buildings and learning the history of ancestors that could have been mine, I see how things were and what they did, and I learned a lot. And I can only say that it helps. It helps to form your real identity. And so I highly recommend that everyone pick a place to go to where they think their family tree came from. And go and spend, you know, I think I would like to send people for 1 month. So maximum 1 month. I mean, technically, once you're out of the country, you can stay for 3 months. So I guess really it's maximum 3 months. But let's try for 1 month and then see what happens. And I think we start with, like, the elderly and the sick people, and then children first, because when you've got a child, then you get to go twice if you're a parent, because you got to go with your kid, right? So so then you can go to multiple places. So it's a good time to be a parent right now, of minors, anyways, children under 18. And then you can have that experience. So that is my concept of reparations. Yeah. Yeah. It's important. It's also complicated because our histories are so strange, and the things that humans have done to other humans, and it's terrible. And sometimes it might be best to sort of forget a little bit and not forgive, but blur it a little bit and move forward and change the world in a positive way. We cannot change the history that happened. We were not there. We're also only guessing. But we don't have to continue it, is I guess what I'm saying. And the best way to do that is to move forward. So I want everybody to go to places where they think their roots came from and bring back your knowledge and share it. Maybe you'll discover you even like it, and maybe you decide to go back to wherever your roots are from. So my goal is to give you the experience. As a president, I would love to give our people these experiences so that they can know from where they came and get a sense of what was once. And then they can make the U.S. stronger, talk about their experiences, learn from them, maybe bring back new ideas that they've seen wherever they're from. And yeah, because I don't think a lot of U.S. citizens leave the country currently. I don't think a lot get to experience these things. So I really want to give you this life-changing experience. And maybe this is something, it might take 10 years to get everybody to their place and back and whatnot. So I hope, in like the next 10 years that it will eventually all U.S. citizens will have that experience and come back. And then maybe in 50 years when we reach 300 years old, then maybe it'll be time to do that again. So that we can have the next generation have those experiences. But I think it's the best way. We have the Peace Corps everywhere. So there's the opportunity to go through the Peace Corps there, depending on where you're from and how rural you want to get. And then we also have military bases where there's also a certain amount of English then being spoken in certain regions and protection in certain regions. But yeah. So let's contemplate that idea. It was part of my platform before, and it still is. And it's about, overcoming our ancestors' activities. We don't have to be like them. We can forge a new path. Yep. So yeah. All right. So I think maybe I'll just stop here. This is a long one. Anyways, it's now 24 minutes long. So this is the end. So I'm not going to do any more parts for today. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to find out more about me and my lawsuit, it's at susan4usa.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation today, this talk. Thank you. If you have any questions, don't forget to put them in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.